Welcome to another CMC Podcast. In this series called Meet the Instructor, you'll have a chance to get to know our instructors a little bit better. Today, in the Meet the Instructor series, we have Alan Baker joining us. Hi, Alan.
Good morning. How you doing?
Good. So Alan, what got you involved in the fire service?
What got me involved? I don't know. It was just I more or less fell into it. I had another path in mind, and I had a buddy going through the fire academy, and I asked him, what's that all about? And he told me, and I happened to have the area I was living in Southern California. I first started in the fire service around 1990 as a paid call firefighter for Orange County Fire Department at the time. They're now Orange County Fire Authority. And that kind of set the path in motion.
Oh, excellent. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about your career in the fire service? You started in 1990 with Orange County Fire Department as a POC. What happened after that?
Then I put myself through, got my degree, put myself through a fire academy, and then in 1992, I got hired by Newport Beach Fire Department and spent the rest of my career there. Did 30 years there with them.
Excellent. Not a bad place to be,
No.
Right on the ocean in Southern California?
I've always been a beach bum, so I actually had job offers from Boulder, Tucson, and Newport at the same time. So do I go to the desert, do I go to the mountains, or do I stay at the beach? So I stayed at the beach.
Wow. Yeah, that's a good position to be in. You couldn't go wrong with all three, huh?
Nope.
So what kind of specialty teams were you involved with?
Specialty teams, it's kind of a weird story. Newport, we were part of Task Force 5, FEMA team. That was Orange County, was kind of the lead of that. But the surrounding departments, Newport, Anaheim, Orange City, I believe Costa Mesa was involved with it too. They had members to fill the team. Well, our chief actually pulled us off of there because he got some bad information about paying after we got deployed. So it turned into a cost thing. So by the time we got accepted, it was turned into a political quagmire. So then a couple of us were doing safety officer stuff for Task Force 6, which is Riverside, because we actually taught a lot with those guys. At the time, California was developing their Rescue Systems 1 and Rescue Systems 2. And I was teaching that with a few of the other members that were on the teams. And so that was a lot of fun. And then a few years down the road from there, Newport got what's called an OES resource, Office of Emergency Services for California. So the whole concept was you'll obviously train a certain amount of trained members and the equipment. And let's say San Francisco had another earthquake. We would deploy teams from the south up there. If we had an earthquake in the south, they would deploy their teams southern to us. Because the logic was every department's going to be busy taking care of their own city. So we need to have outside resources. And it was much quicker than the FEMA system where they're going to take, 24, 48, 72 hours to get anywhere. This was like the governor could just push a button and launch the teams. So we served on that, had that, a heavy team it was called. So we had confined space capabilities, breach and breaking, obviously shoring, trench, and of course rope.
Wow. And it's for the listeners that aren't familiar with the California with that OES resource system. It's impressive, and you guys actually do a lot of work on that between not only earthquakes but wildfires and mudslides and all the other natural disasters you guys seem to get out there.
Oh yeah, it's probably most frequently used for the fires.
Yeah. So it's an impressive setup. So when did you start with CMC?
CMC actually got hired in, I believe my anniversary date is December of 1994. And I was also teaching for the state of California. So California State Fire Marshal is what basically accredits for all our core classes in California. So I got hooked up with a buddy of mine at Newport, Bob Masanis, who was teaching for CMC at the time and for the state. And he knew I did framing, I did cabinet building, and I was an amateur rock climber. So he said, hey, you want to help me out? Sure. So I interned, basically apprenticed. It was an older system then, where basically slave labor. I was told, okay, come out and help teach, and you're not going to get paid for about 2 years. So, okay. So learned the process, finally became an assistant instructor, and then Bob at the time, he basically became the lead instructor for FEMA for the structural component of it. So he bowed out, and then I took over at CMC for the shoring part. And prior to that, when I was teaching with Bobby, I met another guy named Keith Eddy. He was a captain for, which department? It was a small LA department. I'm drawing a blank on the name right now. But so I started teaching trench with him. And same thing, he bowed out. And that's when Stan Kloffenstein and myself met. Stanley was helping us with the RS2. And he and I befriended, and we started teaching structural shoring and trench back in 94, 95 for CMC and for the state together. And about 10 years later is when I got, I guess, blessed to help out with the rope stuff. It was weird back then with CMC. There was this division between the CMC rope guys and the structural guys. So neither one knew we can cross over and do the other stuff until I asked our boss at the time, John McKinley, hey, can I do that too? Because I'm doing it for the state. And he's like, absolutely. So obviously went through the process with CMC to become a rope guy.
Yeah, excellent. And I think on some of the other podcasts we've talked about it too, but just in case the listeners haven't heard those, we've got it's a pretty involved task book process. No matter who you are coming in the door, you go through the same task book that everyone else does for each position that you teach and for each discipline you teach in. So it's a good process. So
I think we basically took the same system that California uses. So instead of whole apprentice thing for 2 years not getting paid, now if you take a course and, hey, I want to be an instructor, obviously the state has a process to go through. So now you fulfill task books. We have an assistant instructor task book, a senior instructor task book, and CMC, obviously Wayne Chapman, our boss now, basically incorporated that. So it's a little bit more fair now and consistent, and another way of checking off all the boxes.
Yeah, I think so. And I think you hit the number one word right there is consistency, right? I mean, that's making sure everyone's on the same page. Yeah. So you kind of mentioned a little bit. So what are the classes you do teach for CMC?
Well, again, as I mentioned, it was called EBS at the time, Emergency Building Shores, and that's evolved into structural shoring. And because we don't do the search component, we don't do the breaching and breaking. So if you want to be basically NFPA tech level, you have to have all those components with it. So it's got to turn into more like a multidiscipline class with a ton of logistics. So that would be our rescue systems 2 or structural specialists that FEMA does. So we just do the structural shoring part of it, but it meets all the needs for technician level within that for 1006 and old 1670, now 2500. And trench rescue, and then the rope tech 1-2. I'm in the process of trying to get signed off for the tech 3 that CMC does. I've done tower for years for a gentleman named Kent Freeman. He's a captain from Roseville, retired now. But he and I did tower for many years for the state and for other areas. And then I got into rope access. So I got certified in SPRAT. I actually just recertified. And so there's a few things that CMC does. We're actually starting a new class this year that Art put together. That was rope access for the rescuer. And so I'm kind of excited about that. Hopefully that'll be received well. And different things that like rigging classes for stage handlers and whatnot. So lights, sound equipment, you name it, that basically stages and auditorium workers have to set up. So we teach the rescue component that for them. And
that's, and people look at our website and they see the open enrollment schedule, and a lot of people don't even know how many contract classes we do. We do far more contract classes than we do open enrollment. And so, you've been heavily involved with a lot of those specialty contract classes.
No, I'm not a confined space guy. I mean, my team had confined space, but we really didn't have heavy industry in Newport. So I never wanted to teach something that I didn't actually do rescues in. So I picked off people off of high rises, off of cliffs, out of holes, did trench stuff, did shore buildings. But I never went in an actual call. We trained. We were, a certified, if you want to say, team. We did our annual training and quarterly training, but you guys do a ton more confined space stuff. It's amazing when I see what you guys are doing.
Yeah, it's amazing. That is definitely a huge part of of the number of classes we do is those confined space. But yeah, it's kind of cool that you've done some of those specialty contract stuff, like you say, with the stage rigging and tower and everything else. So yeah, that definitely kind of an unseen side of the school that a lot of people don't even know about.
It's fun, yeah.
It is, yeah, because it kind of forces you to, you arrive on scene and you have to really size up what they have, and you really, we really customize the classes to what the customer needs and wants once we get there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So what do you enjoy most about teaching?
Oh, what do I enjoy most? Well, probably I learn every time I go somewhere. With CMC, I guess I've been teaching with them since '94, so the fun part is getting shipped all over the country and getting students from all over the world. So you, as an instructor, you have to open your mind up and just not say, I'm the one in charge and you're going to listen to me. That's the wrong attitude to have. So my kind of joke for the class on Monday morning or whenever the first day of the class is, and I'll say, hey, tell you what, if you guys have a technique, show us. If it works and it's awesome, great. I'm going to give you credit during this class, but after the class, I own it. Because then when I go to the next place, I look like I'm a genius and I'm really not all that smart. So it makes it fun and it loosens up the class, and we want the students to share. But the biggest benefit is I continue to learn every time I go somewhere and teach. I just love that aspect about it because it's always evolving. It's a mentorship. You're giving back. I think it's probably one of the best ways for the fire service to give back and just make an impact with the next generation coming up. Because obviously there's experience, but sometimes experience you've been doing the wrong thing forever and it just hasn't, a bad thing hasn't happened yet. But good experience and good training, it's just, I think mentoring the next generation is the best thing.
Oh, yeah, awesome. Yeah, great. So, and you're semi-retired. So when you're not teaching or at work, well, what do you do for hobbies?
Yes, I retired. Like I said, after 30 years, it was a great job. Enjoyed it, but we were ready to move on. I'm a dive master. I was on our dive rescue team for Newport. We do that. My wife has taken me all over the world. She's a traveler. She gets antsy if she's not going somewhere every 6 months, somewhere big. So she's taken me, you name a place in the world, we've probably been there, which obviously is another huge learning experience. Like I said, I used to do a lot of cabinets. I've kind of tailored that down because I can't keep up with the big companies with the CNC machines and so forth. But I've remodeled several homes. I'm still in the process of finishing up our house here. So I don't like to set myself in any one thing. I like doing multiple things. So very busy.
If I recall, too, you've got a couple of cool vehicles.
Yeah, we've had vehicles over the years. I've done motorcycles all my life. I used to race CBRs. Then after I laid it down on the track a couple times, it was like, okay, maybe I got to give this up. And then I got into Harleys and touring cross country with those. My wife's been on the back of the Harley for 3 weeks in a row, and she's a trooper. So we actually just got another new bagger, so we're hoping to start doing some cross country tours again. And we had a Cobra. I had an old Jeep 73 CJ that was all souped up with a Cobra motor in it. But the wife didn't like it. That was going to be her turtle rescue vehicle down here on the Gulf Coast. She's a retired nurse, but now she's like, nope, I'm taking care of animals now. So she volunteers for like 3 different places. And so now she's waiting for another 4-wheeler to come in. So
Wow. I was going to say, that CJ would have been the coolest turtle rescue vehicle out there.
I thought it was perfect, but she didn't like driving it, so I think it was a little bit too fast for her.
Well, too bad, but hopefully the turtles are doing good, right?
Yeah.
So is there anything in tech rescue that you have really strong feelings about?
Yeah, I was thinking about that one when you had mentioned that question. And I think that the biggest thing for me is, or only concern I have, is how fast things are moving these days. I mean, it's exciting time. One of the lines I'll say in class is, the great thing about rope rescue is there's a million ways to do something. And I go, the bad thing about rope rescue is there's a million ways to do something. So students get confused because, well, I could do it this way, I could do it this way, and I could do it this way. It's like, well, what's the most, the best safety factor, most efficient for you? What equipment do you have on hand? What personnel do you have on hand? So there's so many factors that go into this. But I hope guys and gals don't confuse speed for efficiency. A lot of times in these competitions, obviously CMC, we're holding our second GRIMP competition, which I'm a big fan of. I was a big proponent of it and still am. And of course, all the other competitions going around the world, it seems now the driving force is, oh, you gotta be fast. And as we saw in our first competition, there was a couple little snafus that happened because of the speed part of the competition. So CMC, we set forth for the competition to, enhance learning, what you don't know when you come. And so it was more of a learning part of it, and the way Wayne developed the scoring sheets and the way it was divided up, and even the scenarios that were planned. But I think some of the competitions and the teams looking at that think speed is better. So I'd say that would be my only concern, is that we don't start injuring because we're more worried about speed instead of maintaining our safety factors and just being efficient with whatever systems we choose to go with.
Yeah, very valid concern. And also for our listeners too, Alan was actually part of the original group, the kind of the small subcommittee that actually got the whole GRIMP North America competition going. So you were in literally the ground floor of it. So
yeah, I think it was Alexa and myself that were the ones looking for the venue. So
yeah,
it was funny. I'd call a place and say, oh yeah, we just talked to this girl named Alexa from CMC. So we were kind of competing for different venues, and I had a connection at the Long Beach ports, and that didn't pan out. And then the Queen Mary was an option. And then through that, I got connected with the Iowa and USS Iowa. And Mike, who's in charge there of the battleship, he's been phenomenal. He's salt of the earth, a good guy. And so that's why we're going back again and doing different scenarios with it. It's a good location. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah, you're right. Just a fantastic group there to work with. Mike and all of his guys and gals are just fantastic to deal with.
Yeah.
So what do you see as in the future for tech rescue? Whether being you're a multidiscipline guy, what for any of the disciplines, where do you think the future is?
It's fun. The technology now, just the engineering out there, the computer-aided systems that they can develop this stuff and start testing with before they actually have to make something. Just every year there's new devices that come out for rope rescue, new devices for even structural shoring and trench shoring. As we mentioned off camera earlier, I'm in the process of developing different data sheets with our soils engineer for trench shoring. So I think the development of the equipment and technology is great, but I think the sharing of information makes this time phenomenal. People out there like Delaney that does so much testing and sharing, all these other companies that are doing the same thing, and they'll post the International Technical Rescue Symposium. You go there and you get different speakers for who knows what subjects they're going to talk about, but that makes it entertaining. So I think the sharing of information and the quality of testing and the validation of products and procedures and techniques, I think that's really just taken off, making rescue take off like a rocket ship. It's hard to keep up with at times. So like I said, it's exciting. It's work to keep up with it, but it makes it a very exciting time.
Yeah, very, very well said. So, well, hey, thanks for joining us today, and hopefully our students and prospective students get to know you a little bit better, and there's definitely plenty of things to talk about with you, so that's great.
Thank you, Doug. Appreciate it.
Thanks.